Welcome to Influential Sports, where passion meets precision. As I'm your host, Ed, diving deep into the plays, players, and stories shaping the game. So, AEW All Out. This was AEW's best pay-per-view of the year. One of the top wrestling pay-per-views of the year, period. But this was really good. I really enjoyed this. This was spectacular what AEW was able to do this past weekend during All Out. Once again, outshining WWE. And I was finally able to watch it because I had a dodgeball tournament when AEW was on and didn't get back till about the main event. So I just decided I watched the event all in. Well, it took 2 sittings because I watched half of it yesterday, the other half today. But the first match, FTR versus Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, this match was all right. I felt like it should have been a bit better. It wasn't a terrible match. I don't think this needed to be the opener. And it just felt kind of slow with these two teams. But Beth Phoenix or Beth Copeland now returning. And was it after the? No, it was during the match when the referee was down. So Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, they ended up winning. Like I said, it was cool. Then they had it was all right. Then the post match stuff is what kind of saved it with FTR doing the Shadow Machine. I think that's what it's called. It might have a different name, but they did that to Beth. So this story is not over between FTR, Christian Cage, and Adam Copeland, and even after the match during the post-match attack, Christian Cage was still there to help Adam Copeland. He didn't leave, even though they said they would help each other with their problems. And this FTR problem might not be over, so it might be a deeper story that we're getting here. And I'm here for it. I mean, like I said, it wasn't the best match. Could have been a different opener, but you had a surprise. The right team won, so not too many complaints with it. The second match, Big Bill versus Eddie Kingston. I was surprised this wasn't the main card, but once I actually watched it, I was like, this is actually a very decent match. It was pretty entertaining. The spinning back fist for a win is certainly something, but Big Bill don't really have momentum like that, so he can lose to that move and be fine. And then Eddie Kingston won. It was his return, but Brian Keith, he came down the ring to attack Eddie Kingston. So it's like this story is still going to continue as well. It's like, so I'm fine with that. Like a lot of these stories are going to bleed into their next pay-per-view, which I think is for a year in November. So they got about 2 months to build up to that. So they'll probably, either that's going to be, it might not be at the pay-per-view, or it might be leading to Eddie Kingston having a tag partner, which Hook did come out to save him. So maybe they have a tag match at the next AEW pay-per-view, and that's how they build to that. But yeah, it wasn't nothing too crazy, but it was a good match for what it was. Eddie Kingston returned. Big Bill got some good offense in. It was some good selling throughout the match. But let's talk about the match that was the match of the night, in my opinion. This match had chaos. This match had it all. A tables and tax match between MJF and Mark Briscoe. I wish that MJF would have put the CMLL World title on the line, but it is what it is. But this was a great match. MJF really both of them doing anything to, well, the way the match started with Mark Briscoe laying out the thumbtacks in the ring, MJF not wanting to get in there first, and then Mark Briscoe dragging him back to the ring. And something interesting you saw in this match is that it was never a point where MJF tried to escape. Like a lot of MJF matches with him being a cocky, arrogant heel, he'll try to escape. That way his opponent can attack him, and then that allows him to do something dirty. But with this, it was like once the match finally got started, once Mark Briscoe got him in the ring and they finally started going at it, and they were stepping all over the thumbtacks, it was like MJF didn't plan on leaving. He wanted to hurt Mark Briscoe. He wanted to win this match. Like this really felt more important than this felt like one of his most important matches, which is why I wish the CMLL title was on the line to show the type of champion he was. Now, if the title was on the line, the result would have had to been different. But I did like this out of MJF. Like he can still, like he works naturally and best as a heel. But at certain matches, that it's going to require him to, I'm gonna have to get in the ring. I can't avoid this, but I'm not going to try to escape either. And that's what I really like. And MJF is one of my favorite wrestlers in AEW, probably my favorite AEW wrestler. So I really love what they did here because heels win matches and they compete in different ways. This was something different because of how personal this feud with Mark Briscoe was. Even though he's the one that started it, he wants to shut Mark Briscoe up and prove that he can win without anybody's help. He can win any type of match, and he really went out there and tried to do that. Now, both guys went for the thumbtacks at different points. MJF even did a tombstone to Mark Briscoe through the thumbtacks, put him in his mouth. It was hella chaos in this match. Mark Briscoe hit a froggy bowl through the table that had thumbtacks on it. It was a lot of chaos. It was blood, but this feud was very personal, and this is what made the most sense to do this. And I don't think it's over. I think with the rumor of Andrade possibly going to AEW, I think what's best is that they continue this feud, and I don't know who will win the next match, but Mark Briscoe and MJF, they have good chemistry. I enjoyed it. Mark Briscoe ended up getting the win after hitting the J Driller on the thumbtacks, which that made the most sense. It made the most sense for Mark Briscoe to get the win after MJF disrespected his brother. But Mark Briscoe, he should go after this title now, the CMLL title, and then Andrade could cost him, and that's how you bring Andrade back to AEW. I'm sure he could rekindle a relationship with people that he had problems with. CM Punk was able to do it with WWE. Obviously, Andrade isn't who CM Punk is, but at the end of the day, they're both wrestlers, so I'm sure Andrade could rekindle some relationships with a few people and make it work and go back to AEW. Then you had Ricochet and the Gates of Agony taking on the Hurt Syndicate. This was a good six-man tag team match. The story behind this is really good, too. I really like the story going into this match. The Hurt Syndicate, Ricochet, and him months later finding a faction to help him get revenge. And not just get revenge, but to make them feel dominant. They won against Jet Speed and Mark Briscoe, so they showed they have chemistry. And then it's not just a Ricochet just because he's a star. He's the one talking. It's like he allows the guys to shine, too. He allowed Toa Yoga and Bishop Khan, he allows them to talk too. It's not like, since I'm the leader, I'm the one that's going to do the talking. He's the leader of the group, but he allows them to get their stuff off his wheel. He allows them to get to do their stuff in the six-man tag team match. He taunts MVP early, thinking that MVP is going to get a chance to go at him. And then Bishop Kong and Tonga Leoa, they the ones that's dominating early on. And even think Ricochet pinned MVP for the win. So the Hurt Syndicate lost this match. MVP taking the pin was pretty obvious. And it's not going to affect him since he don't wrestle much anyways. But this was a good win for Ricochet and the Gates of Agony. It was nothing illegal, so it's no need to continue the feud. This is a good way to end it, establishing them, and they go after the trios titles. I think that makes the most sense. But this was a good six-man tag team match. And then a side note, I didn't watch the pre-show. I might go back and watch it just to see what matches they had, but I was not able to see the pre-show for this event. But the fifth match on the main card, Mercedes Moné versus Rio for the TBS Championship. Once Rio started taunting Mercedes Moné during the CEO dance, I knew she was losing. But I didn't think this match had the story enough for Mercedes to lose anyways. Like, it was a fun match. It was entertaining. It was nice getting to see these two wrestle. It was some cool moments in the match. Mercedes ended up retaining. But Mercedes losing wouldn't have made sense, at least not here. I just don't think it had enough of a story for that to happen. Like, it would have had to be a much bigger moment or just somebody much bigger. Like, I think of Megan Bayne, even though it's heel versus heel, I think that would do a lot for Megan Bayne if she was the one to dethrone Mercedes for the TBS Championship. Like I said, her and Rio got good chemistry. It was a good match. Mercedes won. I'm interested to see what's next because she's ran through a lot of the division. She's probably going to beat Jay's record, and once she does that, she's very close to it. I don't know how close, but once she does that, that's likely when she'll lose. And then closer to that time, I'll probably do some fantasy booking of who I think should be the one to take that TBS title from her. Now the sixth match on the card, Massacre Dorada, Konosuke Takeshita, and Kazuchika Okada for the Unified Championship. This was a fun triple threat match. I enjoyed the match. My problem with the match was the booking was too safe. Massacre Dorada felt like he was thrown in here for no purpose. I get the point of the Unified Championships since it's the Continental and International Championship unified, and the point of the International so that people around the world can fight for them from different promotions that work with AEW or just people from different countries in general. And I like that concept. I like the triple threat matches that the qualifying matches that they had to get here. But it felt kind of like Massacre Dorada just felt like it was pretty obvious he was going to take the pin. It felt like super safe booking, and he did a good job in the match. But he just felt out of place. Like I said, it wasn't a bad match at all. It was a great match. but he just felt out of place, and it felt too safe, him just taking the pin when he could have just had Okada and Takeshita and made that a feud within the Don Callis family. Like they're both trying to become like they both want to be the top star of the Don Callis family. And obviously that's Okada now, and obviously it's a little bit of tension with Takeshita going after that belt. So it's like eventually Don Callis' relationship with one of these is gonna have to break apart. And you could have did a trilogy of this with Okada and Takeshita going one-on-one, Okada getting the win here, and it's heel versus heel. So maybe he do something in a heelish way. Maybe he grabs the ropes, or maybe he pull his tights, and then they have a rematch. Takeshita wins clean, and then it's 1-1. Then their third match, you have Takeshita and Okada go at it one last time for the Unified Championship. But Don Callis is a special guest referee, and he has to choose a side. He has to choose who does he want. And obviously Okada is the rainmaker, so you give him a second championship reign, but you let Takeshita hold the belt for a little bit, and you build up to that third match and do something like that. And then build up to it, it could be Don Callis leaning more towards the side of Takeshita, not making it too obvious, but then during the match, that's when he completes the turn. He fully turns on Takeshita. The Don Callis family, they all interfere. Anybody that's a part of that, and then it's an entire divide within the Don Callis family. And Okada is the one to win it with Don Callis, a special guest referee. He gets a second unified championship reign. I think something like that would have made more sense. Like Mask Dorado, he's a good wrestler. He just felt out of place in this match, in my opinion, but it was a fun match. John Moxley versus Darby Allin coffin match. This was pretty cool. I expected Darby to get the win, but Pac returned, Fadio, Marina Shafir, they got involved. But Darby did a great job. John Moxley bled in another wrestling match per usual. And that happens all the time. It's like, it's not even a bad thing. Like, a little bit of blood is fine. It's just that it's kind of excessive when it comes to John Moxley, since it's so common that it happens. It's like in a coffin match, I get it because they got a little bit of history, but they got a decent amount of history with each other. But I wasn't expecting Moxley to bleed in this match, but it was a good match. Moxley ended up winning the match thanks to the return of Pac, who has a haircut now, which I wasn't expecting. And then even after the show, like, this isn't over because Darby didn't lose clean. Obviously, it was no DQ since it was a coffin match. Anything goes. But once the Death Riders drove off, Moxley had Darby in like a body bag, and he was still in the casket, and he got out of it. Then Darby put Moxley in a body bag, and he started burning him. And it was funny because the officials were quick as hell to stop Darby from burning John Moxley, as if John Moxley and the Death Riders didn't start this whole thing months ago. But they've always been quick to stop Darby Allin from doing anything. But man, it was a good match. And then you had the women's fatal four-way for the AEW Women's World Championship. Tekla versus Chris Statlander versus Jamie Hayter versus champion at the time, Toni Storm. This was a good match. You had three faces and one heel in here. You had Willa Yuta before the match give Chris Statlander a little bit of advice. So like that was pretty cool to see because obviously they've been champions before. Willa Yuta's been a trios champion. Chris Statlander's been a TBS champion. And Willa Yuta's running with the most dominant faction in AEW at the moment. So he gave Chris a little bit of advice. And y'all been paying attention. They've been building up to something with Chris and the Death Riders potentially. Even if it don't lead to nothing, like just a little bit of advice, like that's just something good for her to hear. Then Tekla, she came out by herself. She didn't have a triangle of madness with her. Now Jamie Hayter felt out of place. Like she didn't really have a story. Like I don't know. She just felt out of place in this match, in my opinion. But it is what it is. It was a fun fatal four-way. Like I know Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm got a little bit of history, which is why they will work together at certain points in the match. And then once they finally went at it, it was like it was no holding back. And then when they went at it, that allowed Tekla to get distracted by pulling one of them out the ring, which was Jamie Hayter. She pulled her out, and then she was just focused on taking Jamie Hayter out. And that created a chance for Chris Statlander to get in the ring and pin Toni Storm. And I liked it because the way that Chris came in the ring, it was a bit of a struggle because she was trying to get a move off. Then Toni reversed it because she was down for a few seconds. Then she realized, oh, somebody else is Chris Statlander in the ring, and she's trying to hit her finisher on me. And then Toni went for a move, then Chris went for another move. But instead of like it looked like she was gonna lock in some type of submission, but instead she went for a pinfall, which was super creative, and I liked the way that it was done. And Chris Statlander ended up winning to become the new women's world champion of AEW, and I feel like that was great. Obviously, if she was going, I know some people think it should have been a one-on-one if Chris was going to win and pin Tony Storm, but this is better than like in a fatal four-way. That's actually a good thing. That's a good sign to see that the champion can be pinned in a fatal four-way and lose their title, because there's always that emphasis of the champion doesn't have to be pinned and lose the title, and you usually see that. So it's something different. I'm not gonna say it's new because we've seen champions be pinned before in fatal four ways and triple threats, but it's not something that you see super often, especially this decade. So Tony Khan is showing us that the champion can be pinned, and it might lead. And it's like Tony Storm, she wasn't upset or nothing. She was more shocked than upset, and it's like they're gonna have a rematch one-on-one, which they should, and that's gonna be how Chris Statlander gets that win one-on-one. Like it's not gonna be the only time they see each other. And then like I'm excited to see Chris Statlander's reign as a women's world champion. Like Tony Khan, he's done a great job with Chris Statlander, from being TBS champion to feuding with Willow Nightingale to not having much to do for a little bit and finally putting her in the world title picture and having her go over and pin the champion in a fatal four-way match to win it. This is gonna make Chris Statlander an even bigger star, and I can't wait. She has a match on Dynamite this week, so I'm excited for that. Hopefully they let her cut a promo. I gotta watch her press conference, but I'm happy for Chris Statlander. The Young Bucks took on Brodito, Jet Speed, and Hitcher Cero and Josh Alexander in a fatal four-way tag team ladder match. This was cool. I thought the Young Bucks was gonna win, but I guess we keeping the titles on Brodito. But it was a great high-flying action here. All four teams did a great job utilizing the ladders in this match. Kevin Knight went through a table, I think. It was some really cool ladder spots that looked like they looked dangerous, which they should. It's a ladder match. Like, I don't think it was probably some bruises for a few people, but I don't think no reports of anybody getting actually hurt in this match. But it was a great match. Brodito ended up retaining. Not the biggest fan of Brodito, but this was a great match. Brody King did a great job in this match. Like really all 8 guys. Nick Jackson he went down on the outside. Like this was a super fun ladder match. I do think they should have swapped places with the Tony Storm match because of how big the Chris that actually. I think Chris Statlander winning should have started the show instead of FTR's match. But you also had Beth Copeland finally come to AEW. Like those was objectively those who were big moments. But I think Chris Statlander, in terms of AEW, was one of the bigger moments because fans have been waiting on this for a while because she finally had something to do again. Like it was a time period where it was like she's stuck in this little vortex of just being around Willow. So it's like, are we really doing anything? But it's like, but that tag, not to get off topic, but that fatal four-way tag team match was cool. Then you had the main event, Hangman Adam Page versus Kyle Fletcher for the AEW World Title. Good match. I think the fans were chanting like "You're not ready" or something like that, but which was like that's good because that shows how good of a heel that Kyle Fletcher is. That he got the fans thinking that he isn't ready, that he shouldn't be in this match. Like that's credit to Kyle Fletcher, him just being a good heel. And then that chant didn't last too long because he proved why he should be here. Brian Danielson did a great job on commentary. Like he was super hyped throughout the match. I give him credit for that. Like if he can't go in the ring, keep him on commentary. I think that's been working out very well. I've enjoyed his commentary, especially for this match. But yeah, Hangman hit the dead out off the top rope. Then he hit the buckshot lariat to end the match and retain the title. But Kyle Fletcher proved that he can be a main eventer in AEW. Now isn't that time since he's a TNT champion and he needs to focus on that. And then like going after the world title, which is like this is something you could have did on Dynamite of him facing the world champion because he was gonna lose anyways. But I think this is like even in his losses, he still looks great. He lost the feud to Will Ospreay, but he still came out looking like a star. He's lost his feud to Hangman. Like, there's no need to do any other matches. He lost clean, fair, and square, but he still looks like a star. So let's continue to book his TNT title run. Let's get some defenses under his belt. Like, that's what Tony Khan, and I think he waited a few weeks too late to pull the trigger, but he still ended up pulling the trigger. I think the timing was a bit off, but he still did it at the end of the day. So just give him a solid few months. He don't got to hold the title for a year. but a solid few months with some good title defenses, him being a fighting champion. And he's done that. But he's had some good championship defenses versus Tomohiro Ishii on Collision, I remember. So let's keep that going. And I think that Cal Fletcher will be a star. And by next year, next year around this time, he will be a world champion. But AEW All Out, I give it a 9 out of 10. And like I said, it was only two problems I had with the show. It was the slow pace of the FTR versus Adam Copeland and Christian Cage match. And it was Massacre the Rider being in a triple threat with Okada and Takeshita because he just felt out of place. Like, he didn't make the match bad. They just felt out of place, in my opinion. But leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, comment what y'all thought of AEW All Out. In my opinion, the best AEW pay-per-view of the year, one of the top 3 wrestling pay-per-views of the year. And share for us to see. But AEW, it truly is where the best wrestle. And once again, congratulations to Chris Statlander on becoming AEW Women's World Champion.